When we're single, we learn how to really depend on ourselves and come to ourselves for happiness. But when we are in a relationship, especially for a long period of time, we can lose ourselves sometimes. We can lose our sense of independence and we can become needy. We hand off the steering wheel of our life to another person and we no longer have control. We no longer can provide for ourselves. Let me tell you this, you should never hand the steering wheel of your life to anybody else. You should have control in your own hands. And this is what we're going to talk about in this video. Hello my lovely people, my name is Polina and welcome to my channel. Dependent relationships, that's the topic for today. I have definitely been there, done that. And being dependent on somebody else for your own emotional stability is one of the most limiting feelings I have ever felt. I also want to say that neediness is one of the biggest dangers to the relationship. What happens is you lose yourself, you lose your interests, you lose your friendships, and you start putting too much pressure on your partner. The pressure that is unnatural. You start expecting somebody else to make you happy instead of making yourself happy. And that puts the balance of the entire relationship off. So how do you know if you're emotionally dependent on your partner in your relationship? If you're emotionally dependent on your partner in your relationship, you most likely have observed the following 5 signs. First of all, you're emotionally unstable. You're very moody. Your mood constantly changes, and those changes are usually based on your relationship, what's happening in it, and what your partner is doing. You can exaggerate little details. You're paying too much attention to the dynamic of your relationship, and this really takes precedence for you over everything else. This is your sole priority and you're experiencing drastic mood swings based on the status of your relationship. The second sign is you have frequent fights. And yes, fighting can be normal, but you have a higher frequency of fights than usual. And in your fights, your partner can tell you very often that they are experiencing pressure from you. That you're putting pressure on them that they're just unable to cope with. The third sign is that you have given up your friendships, your interests, your hobbies, and you have shifted your focus over to your relationship. And yes, relationship is a big part of your life, I understand it, but at the same time, come on, you should also have a life of your own. The fourth sign to understand that you are dependent on your partner is that you are placing a lot of expectations on them. You're placing expectations on them daily. And this is mostly what you think about. What are you expecting them to do? What should happen next? How should they behave? What should they do? And yes, that's a lot. That's a lot for anybody. And the fifth sign is that you feel lack of control over the situation. Sometimes your emotions are so out of hand that you don't even know where to start with. You just need your person to comfort you because you are incapable of comforting yourself. So yes, when you're feeling lack of control, this can also be a very big red flag that you are becoming very, very dependent on somebody else for this comfort that you should really be providing for yourself. All these signs that I'm describing, I have definitely felt myself. I have been in situations where I felt really dependent on my partner and where they literally became kind of my zoomed in focus of my life. And I don't recommend really being there because I just felt really powerless. But now I would love to tell you what can help you with this situation. How can you gain control back? How can you make yourself happy instead of constantly going to somebody else to make you happy? So yeah, if you are in this situation I just described, the following tips should help you solve it. Hopefully. My first solution for you is very powerful. It is rooted in direct action. You should start picking up your hobbies and you should immerse yourself in your interests. Or if you lost yourself to the degree that you don't know what your interests are, you should at least start exploring different things. Really, like pick up a yoga practice or start going to a pottery studio, immerse yourself in painting, start a YouTube channel, or start playing a sport. You can pick up photography, coding, you can learn a new language. There's so many things that you can do. I remember when I was really dependent on my partner, it was a few years back, I started going to a chess club. I used to really love chess. I mean, I still really love chess. I just don't play as often. But playing chess ignited my passion again, and I started really focusing on that. And that just helped me break free from this vicious cycle of just always depending on somebody else for making me happy. My tip number 2 is hang out with your friends. If you managed, I hope not, to kind of lose your friends over the period of your relationship, you should start making the contact again. Yeah, you should restore the burnt bridges and reach out to your friends or make new friends or whatever else. The point of this is to understand that your partner is not the only person in the universe. There are other people out there, and you can kind of spread the dependency. I mean, best case scenario, you just depend on yourself, but you should start understanding that there are other people on this planet, a lot of amazing, interesting people that you can incorporate in your life. Even if your partner wasn't there, you would still have all your people. You would have your social support network or whatever. And this is going to help you understand that no, it does not have to depend on one person. You have other people too. My tip number 3 is to really internalize the belief that you can depend on yourself, that you are in charge, you're in control, you're the master of your life. And yeah, this can be really, really helpful to start internalizing the belief. And yes, you can hear it, but you don't necessarily feel it, right? Because you still feel like you're dependent on somebody else, maybe. And what helps in this situation is reading self-help books. I'm going to list some of them on the screen right now. And these books really help me to remind myself that it is my life and I'm in charge, and I don't have to really go to anybody else for things that I can do for myself. My tip number 4 is kind of this visualization exercise. You should start imagining, what if you were single again? Of course, I understand this is not what you want, or maybe that is what you want. But if you were single, like, how would you build your life? What would you do? Who would you hang out with? Where would you go? Start imagining that. And the purpose is not to like break up with your partner, not at all. It's just an imagination exercise. What would you do? Who would you depend on if you were single? Start taking your power back. Start imagining what your life would look like if you had yourself. And trust me, having yourself is all you need. It's all within you, all your emotions, all your thoughts, all of that is coming from you, and the world is responding to that. So if you can really harness that power, if you can really, really look into yourself and understand yourself, that will really aid you in the long term. My tip number 5 is to accept responsibility. Accepting responsibility for our lives, for ourselves, is one of the biggest challenges we are presented with in our lives. Sometimes it's so much easier to take the victim position. Like, oh, I just ended up in this relationship, and yes, like my boyfriend is doing this, and that's why it's like not working. That's why I'm upset. It's because of him. It's not me. This is a much easier route, but also it is kind of an unhappy route because your happiness is not in your hands. It's in somebody else's hands, and you are a victim. You're victimizing yourself. No. It's much better to accept responsibility. The sooner you can accept responsibility for your life, the sooner you can start altering it. The sooner you can start making changes that you want to make in your life. Being a victim is easier, but if you're a victim, it means somebody else is manipulating your life and not you. And that's not a position of power. If you want to be in a position of power, you should accept responsibility for your life. And that means saying, yeah, I'm dependent right now, but it is my fault. It is my responsibility, and I'm going to improve it. I'm going to change it. I'm going to make sure that it caters to my needs and I can rely on myself. And then my partner just enhances my happiness, enhances my well-being, and then we can thrive together, but we can thrive separately as well. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I have some other videos on toxic relationships and gender differences in loneliness and other fun stuff, because my channel is about psychology, so I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you watch the other ones too. I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.